I haven't heard from her. She was
Sure.
online a few minutes ago.
Oh,
And
good.
we are live. Yeah, we are live. This is season 2, Breaking BadCast, episode 3, Bit by a Dead Bee. We picked back up where we left off last week. Walt and Jesse, they're trying to come up with a way to cover the tracks, so to speak, of where they was at. And Walt come up with a genius idea. That was a great idea.
I actually think Jesse's idea was better for himself, but go ahead with that. I thought
Yeah, I
Walt,
like.
I thought Walt jumped to a really drastic measure that kind of blew up in his face a little bit.
Mhm.
But you can explain your view before I start gabbing.
Well, you can go ahead and gab. It doesn't matter. But Walt came up with an idea where he basically lost conscious and had to go to the hospital. And, well, yeah, like you said, it did blow up in his face because they wanted to keep him there until to see if he has anything wrong with him and
Psychologically, yeah.
psychologically. And he had to tell the doctor that nothing's wrong with him. He just came up with it because he's sick and tired. He basically he
That
told the
was
truth,
brilliant.
but then turned it into a lie.
That was brilliant.
It
Um,
was.
be, because we're jumping ahead into the story, but first he
Yeah.
kind of he grills, to use the word, um,
Hmm.
the doctor about privacy policies to the point where
Yeah.
we're thinking
Patient
that Walt
confidentiality.
might, yeah, exactly, and we're thinking Walt might actually tell him what's really going on
Hmm.
because if it's criminal activity, but it's not hurting himself or somebody else, so you
Yeah.
think he's going to go for it, and he doesn't. And his story to
Hmm.
the psychiatrist is plausible, extremely believable.
Hmm.
You know, I needed to get away from the family, and I couldn't tell him, and I was getting away from the family.
Yeah.
You know, so I made this all up so they wouldn't feel hurt.
Hmm.
But, you know, but I think the original idea, I think he could have thought through a little better. He just sort of, I think, jumped to, I can't remember what happened to me in the last few days because I'll have to explain it.
Yeah.
So I have to pretend, and I have to show up somewhere, and I have to look crazy.
Hmm.
He's naked in a
He
supermarket
and
before the credits roll.
I know. I don't think that needs to be shown. I don't want to see Bryan Cranston's ass. I don't want to see. I don't know if
He
I don't
loves
know
showing
about
it,
you,
though.
but I don't want to see it. I bet that was a funny scene when he got naked. I bet he had the entire crew and cast laughing when he did that.
He always did it. Apparently, you saw the blooper reel. He does
Yeah,
it when they're filming that last scene with Jesse.
yeah,
He's
with
got no
Jesse.
underwear on. He had no problem with that. Tidy Whitey's was just, not extreme enough. He had to take those off. He's really
Yeah,
hilarious. But
especially when he does it again in the later in the episode in front of Skyler.
oh, the joke.
Yeah, as a joke.
Yeah. Well, because the show is trying to push the boundaries as much as they can,
Yeah.
given the limitations of the network. And so they do.
Imagine if this is like on
I don't mind.
HBO or Showtime. Imagine if
Oh my
this show
God.
picked up on HBO and Showtime. That
Well, the
would
language
be
would be way
amazing.
more realistic.
It would.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they might have showed more of the meth cooking as well.
You
Just a
think?
little more. They might. It just depends. Without going overboard and showing how they actually make it.
Because I think Breaking Bad does a really good job of making it look like they show the whole formula, but they truly do leave
Yeah.
steps out
Hmm.
as a personal responsibility kind of thing, so that
Yeah.
they're not actually giving away the recipe, but it looks
Hmm.
legit. It looks real.
Hmm.
But You know, this episode starts right in action. There's no cold opening. There's no teddy bear.
No.
There's, bang, where you
Oh,
get the perspective shot
I
digging.
thought about the teddy bear.
Did you?
I have some sort of idea about the teddy bear. Uh, if you notice on the episodes where it's named 737, they show the teddy bear. Down, they show the teddy bear.
Really?
Over, they show the teddy bear.
Really?
ABQ, they show the teddy bear.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
because I was skipping ahead, and on down, they show the teddy bear.
You're such an addict.
They, I
I'd
know.
never do anything like that. I didn't watch the last 8 episodes as soon as they came on Netflix just because they were there. No, I didn't do
No, I didn't watch
that.
it
But, sure. Oh, I was crying. I swear to God, I was just sitting here crying and crying and crying. I love it. I love it. Yeah, some people can't handle that. It's cathartic to me. I don't know. It's a great
either.
release. It's great art when it does that. But they go right into action. They're digging.
Yeah.
They bury the guns, and then they've got this long, long walk through the desert. And I like how they pan out, and you see these like walking paths, and they pan out, and it makes them look smaller, makes the desert look bigger. It makes their walk look way more, you know, a grueling walk, a long, hot walk, you assume. And I don't understand why Jesse couldn't get a ride for part of the way. Or Jesse had to keep walking, hitch his own, thumb his own ride. I mean, Jesse didn't have to go to Whole Foods or whatever it was. It wasn't Whole Foods. It was High-Low.
Yeah,
I've been to a
Market.
High-Low. Yeah. Used to be a High-Low in Jamaica Plain in Boston, and I used to go there a lot. And yeah, but why Jesse couldn't at least get a ride part of the way, make some progress. But I have actually more important questions later. But oh my God, when Walt is in High-Low naked in the produce section, right? I think it's the produce section.
He was looking in the frozen food.
Oh, it was frozen food? That's
It was
an awful
frozen
place.
food because I remember the big old frozen food aisle.
Oh, I thought it was produce. I don't know. Anyway.
It would have been a lot more funny if it was produce.
The music is funny because it's an elevator version of, I don't know who did the song, but like old 70s song. And the whole chorus is, "That's the time I feel like making love to you." And here's this woman who works there picking up clothes, picking up clothes, picking up clothes. Like this romantic song, and yeah, the guy's naked, but he's not exactly your knight in shining armor. He's cuckoo, and I thought that was irony.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, so then he ends up in the hospital, and we get to see that painting.
Yeah, that painting is like the most important part because you see it throughout the whole other seasons.
I only remember it.
You'll see that painting again.
I only remember it again in
And
gliding
Jack's-
over all. Yeah.
In Jack's lair.
Yeah, and the painting itself it's a family, and Dad's in a boat sailing away, and his family, the other 3 members of his family are on the shore, and they can just stand there while he's adrift. And Walt is definitely adrift in this episode. He's not really thinking right. But actually, I thought Jesse's plan to get out of all this was even better. Jesse had a lot to cover here because not only was he there, but his car's there. And
do you think Walt came up with it? Because he called Walt later in the episode and said it worked.
I don't know. I think he would have to. I think he might have helped Jesse with it, but maybe planted a general idea. But only Jesse could have come up with using Wendy and being able to trust her and come up with this
Yeah.
whole story. And cleaning out the basement, doing it right, and he had to
Hmm.
find somebody to get rid of the RV. But I think Jesse really did a good job with that, and it's interesting that he could count on Wendy. She does a
Hmm.
great job. And one of the things about that is that she doesn't come across as a good liar. She doesn't come across as a really
Yeah.
bright light bulb on the Christmas tree.
Hmm.
But, oh, I remember you. You're that guy who wanted me to do that kid. Beautiful. When I thought
I
about,
like
good.
I like Gomey's response to that.
But to
You
what?
wanted to bang some football player, you big ball pervert.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Gomey and Hank are fun together in this episode. I like when they
they can
interact.
actually. I can actually see a spinoff with Hank and Gomey.
I think,
Maybe
you know what?
maybe do like a prequel.
I read today that Hank's really adverse to being in a spinoff.
Hmm.
And he was talking specifically about Better Call Saul because Jesse really wants to star in it, along
Yeah.
with Bob Odenkirk. He really, really wants to do
Hmm.
that. And but they said there's not going to be any place for Dean Norris, and that Dean Norris really doesn't. He's like, that experience is done, but he's looking
Hmm.
forward to watching it. He doesn't. So
Yeah.
yeah, I couldn't. I don't think he would do it. I forgot what he said. He almost made it sound like they wouldn't let me. Like they meaning whoever manages him.
Hmm.
But I don't see why not. A job is a job, especially when it's with Vince Gilligan, and it's
Yeah.
riding the coattails of Breaking Bad. But I got the impression
Hmm.
that he's just not really into it. But Jesse is doing a brilliant thing because think about it. If you are in a situation like this, well, I say you like we all go through this, but I'm not trying to avoid getting arrested every day. But anyway, if you think that you're gonna get arrested, then your first instinct is to try not to.
Hmm.
And he did the opposite. They need probable cause. I'm giving it to him. And
Hmm.
and kind of like we'll see Mike do later, cleaning everything out.
Yeah.
So if they
Yeah.
search his place, they're gonna find nothing. Um, he gets rid of all the stuff, and he has them pick him up at the Crystal Palace and go through that whole interrogation. There's really
Hmm.
nothing on him, and he gets to go. And he gets to act
Hmm.
like, he's psyched they found his car. He
Yeah.
didn't have such a great poker face with the money. That was tough. You had to let go of
Hmm.
that, but um, yeah, because they wouldn't be thinking, yeah,
Oh.
Jesse Pinkman wants to get arrested.
Hmm.
They don't see him as that smart.
Yeah.
So, but Hank's still looking through him.
I really like the interrogation scenes. I think Dean Norris and Jesse really overdid themselves for that.
Oh yeah. Oh, I love Hank with Wendy
Yeah.
and vice versa.
Yeah.
But yeah, the two of them really rubbing it. Gomey and Hank rubbing it in Jesse's face. Oh, the stuff we're gonna buy with this money, unclaimed drug money. We love
Hmm.
that. Um, but Wendy is remarkably reliable and effective. She corroborates his story. They really
Yeah.
coordinate that well. And she's willing to do this. Obviously, she probably just got some free meth out of the deal, but um,
Wouldn't
she's willing to she's willing to do it and do it right. And then they both get to walk out of there and go to the Waffle House. And I wonder
Hmm.
if Vince and the writers regret having him. Remember, I think it was season 1 where he actually does her,
Yeah, it was
which
the first.
is
I think it was the first or second episode.
which makes my skin crawl. You know, I mean, really, Jesse doesn't have to resort to toothless meth whore. He doesn't. But he was an expendable character. He was supposed to be, you know, he wasn't supposed to be somebody who would come to love and admire. And I think that if they had known what role he would play, he would have the same relationship with Wendy as we see here. I don't get the impression that they were getting it on while they were waiting for the cops. They're just hanging out.
Yeah.
He's not going to do her. Stands to reason he shouldn't have done her last season. But
Yeah, I think this would be the last time we see Wendy up until season 3, I think, or maybe later in the season.
yeah, I'm not even sure what season, but I know that there's one episode that begins all about her with the everyone knows it's Wendy's song.
Yeah.
That is amazing. That's fun.
Yeah. Yeah. So during the interrogation, they brought in Hector Salamanca, which is great. I thought that was great. You think that Hector is going to tell him that he actually been to his house, but he held his ground and didn't say nothing.
Well, it's the code. He can't be a rat.
Yeah.
And Hector doesn't ever rat.
No.
You know, eventually he'll make it seem like he did. I think that's a big enough sacrifice in itself, but the truth is he didn't. He does, however, probably need a little electrolyte replacement after his unfortunate incident after that interview. So nasty. You know, and it's that same Hector we'll see in his younger days pissing in Don Eladio's pool.
Yeah.
He just has no shame. And he's not a rat, but Jesse's like, oh no, that guy is not here. And I love the way Gomey tests Tio's
sanity.
Yeah, mental capacity. Yeah. Like, what planet are we on? What day of the week it is? And they go through all that, and that's tense because you're like, all right, now they're gonna believe whatever he says, and he says nothing.
Yeah.
Because you know he wants that little. You know he's looking at Jesse, that little punk. Killed my nephew. I want him to go down, but not if it means ratting him out. Oh, but
yeah, so Walt
that painting came up.
Go ahead.
Well, you know, we get the whole interrogation thing, and I love that skinny yeast factory of a girlfriend line. And Hank is smart enough to know that Jesse probably didn't do the shooting, and Jesse's playing it off like, you like shoot somebody with like a gun? The only shooting you do is when they finished with all that, they cut to the scene with the shrink, and before Walt does all of that great stuff, the painting is in there too.
Yeah.
Or is that in his room? Maybe it's still his room. That's what it is. The shrink's visiting him in his room.
Yeah, they open up with the painting again, like they did in the last few scenes.
Oh no, we'll see it at least 3 times in this. We see that painting. And then there's Hank and Gomey. I think they're going to take a break and go somewhere or something. You know, they're sitting there. I think they got the video frozen of the meth heist. You know, it's a barrel. It rolls. You know, and they're not really watching it. But Hank says he knows that those guys in that video are somehow connected to Tuco. And he's right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. No, that's right. Gomey says we should go somewhere, and he takes him out, and it's a big celebration in the office.
Yeah. Gomey was like, you want to get a beer? Hank was like, it's 11 o'clock. Gomey said, I'm buying. And then they go
Mm.
out and they have the party because he shot Tuco.
And he gets the grill,
Yeah.
and he's really proud of it for now.
hmm Yeah,
And then we
so,
get.
Walt, go ahead.
Oh, I'm
I'm
just going.
jumping
I mean,
ahead.
I'm looking at my notes, going. Actually, I must have skipped a couple pages here. Wait a minute. Or maybe I just write really large. But
Yeah, so,
yeah, just like Jesse reaching out to his parents again and being rejected
yeah.
again. And Walt is so unsympathetic to Jesse when they talk on the phone.
hmm
You know, Jesse's like, they've got all my money, my car. Well, he gets his car back, I get, or does he? Do they keep it as
No, he
evidence?
doesn't get his car.
He doesn't get his car
They keep
back.
his car, yeah.
So
Yeah,
he
because if you
loses.
remember, he gets that new car,
Yeah,
that new
that's
red
right.
car.
Like station wagon.
Yeah, station wagon thing.
Yeah. All right. So he doesn't even have a ride home from the DEA office,
No.
and Walt's just like, do they ask about me? Do they know anything? And every time Jesse's like, I've got this problem, that problem, Walt's just like, well, what about me? What about me? What about me? And then he still wants to cook. After
hmm
all of this comes up twice. Well, it doesn't really come up twice, but Walt is established, and his mind doesn't change from what we can see at all. He still wants to cook. What's changed, he said.
hmm
Well, let's see. You came this close to dying, this close to getting caught by Hank.
Yeah.
You had to go to drastic measures, end up in the hospital, worry the shit out of your family. And he escapes from the hospital because he's laying there thinking about the money, and he says
I
cash
wonder
on
how he
hand.
escaped from the hospital. I wonder how he got. I like to see how how he escaped from the hospital
Well,
because they don't show it.
it's a night shift, and he's not exactly intensive care. He's not a psych
hmm
patient yet, I don't think. So they're not,
No,
they're not
this is the
keeping
night before he gets released.
right. So he's not a psych patient anymore.
Yeah.
So night watch is usually quiet. Most patients are sleeping. You
hmm
just watch. Somebody puts trust me, there's always paperwork. Got their head down doing paperwork. You slip away. You act like you're just
hmm
shuffling off to the bathroom, whatever. It's possible. You know, um, and he does all that. But I mean, I think that was a great scene because, for one thing, he gets to see how Walter Jr. and Skyler are doing, and he
Yeah.
can see the toll it's taken on them. And even on his way back, waiting for the bus, he sees that poster, but
hmm
yet he's still gonna cook. And then he's on that bus ride, and he's all alone on the bus. There's nobody else. And the music they're playing is a rather sad and lonely song.
hmm
It's kind of like somebody on their own journey and leaving everybody behind and being very alone. But it's the line is easier than sitting around waiting to die or something like that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. It's
that
easier to sit around than wait and die.
right, that rather than do it Skyler's way, spend time with the family,
hmm
that he's gonna do stuff while he can still breathe, and he's gonna make this money. He's still at 737 right now.
hmm
He hasn't raised his ante, but he hasn't learned. Now he's got two. I mean, this is how many episodes into the series? This is only the 10th episode of the series, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And he had to deal with Amelia and Crazy 8 and now Tuco. And Tuco was just so insane. And he's
Mhm.
still going to do it. It's still going to do it. And, and then kudos to Junior for trying to take care of Walt. Like, drink your apple juice. Kids that age really
Yeah.
don't give a shit. Like, when are we going home? I want to play my video game. Junior's a really, really great kid. And Skyler, when she sees him, she's already gotten that hint about a potential second cell phone. So
Mhm.
that's churning in her head somewhere. But when they get to see
Yeah.
Walt for the first time in the hospital, she's just the most loving wife. She's so relieved. She's just so sweet to him. And that is my Skyler defense of the week. For everybody who hates Skyler. It's only once he's better and he's home, she starts getting a little cold because that second cell phone now can rise to the surface because,
Mhm.
there's priorities. Walt could have been dead. And he's
Yeah.
back and he's okay. And then once that all deflates, then the second cell phone can rise back up to the surface. And she asks him
Mhm.
about it. Of course, he lies, and she doesn't believe him. She doesn't say it, but she doesn't
Mhm.
believe him.
Yeah, you can tell by reaction.
But where did the painting come up again? See, I look at my notes, but at one point I
Uh, the
just
first
put
time, the first time it was in the hospital room when he was
right,
looking at it when he was first in the hospital. The second was when he was talking to the psychiatrist.
right.
I can't think of the third.
I've got it somewhere in like capital letters. Painting. Oh, I guess when he goes back to, that's right, when he goes back to the hospital after escaping to go home and put the money
Yeah,
somewhere else.
yeah.
It's the first thing he looks at it. He's really looking at it.
Mhm.
Easier than waiting around to die. He knows how much pain he's caused, and he is willing to risk that again. But
Yep.
those two, the music they chose and that painting were like great artistic touches,
Mhm.
symbolism about how Walt still isn't learning his lesson.
Mhm.
You know, if he really, really wanted to at this point, he could say, all right, this is just not working out. This is scary. It's putting my family through hell. I could get killed at any second. Maybe I could have Skyler appeal to Gretchen and Elliot because Gretchen's not mad at Skyler. Gretchen's
No.
angry at Walt. And,
Mhm.
as we'll learn, and we've already seen, Gretchen and Elliot harbor some guilt. A little bit of guilt. They can suppress it
Mhm.
as long as it's not in their face, but when it's in their faces, then they're like ready to cut a check. You know? And,
Yeah.
so I think at this point Skylar doesn't think any money's coming in, right? Does she know? No, she doesn't know
She
Skylar.
she doesn't know yet.
She doesn't
She
know that
doesn't know
Gretchen and
yet.
Elliot aren't giving them money. She thinks they are.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm, that's a problem. Because he'd
Yeah.
have to come clean with Skylar to get Skylar to appeal to them. Or maybe,
Mhm.
but so that would mean maybe he could appeal to them,
Mhm.
and say, look, the diagnosis, the meds, everything, turning 50, things came down on me so hard. I lashed out at you, and that was so wrong, you know, and if you could find it in your heart to help us any way you can, we would so appreciate it, and I would never ask you if it
Hmm.
weren't for Skyler and our baby to be and our son. And he could guilt them
Yeah.
back into it. I mean, his ego's in the way. He's never going to go down that route. So he's still thinking he's got to cook.
Hmm.
Dumb. The only good thing about him making the stupid mistake all over again is that we get more episodes. Otherwise, it would be like over.
Yeah. Otherwise, it'd be over by now.
Mm.
Uh,
Well, it is over by now.
do
I
you
hate to
think
tell you.
Walt? Do you think Walt could have come up with something different besides putting him in the hospital?
He could have claimed a lot of things. He could have claimed I mean, when he left, which was when he got abducted by Tuco, with Jesse already
Hmm.
in the car, in Jesse's car. He could have said that because he's already claimed that he goes for walks when he's stressed. He likes to do it.
Yeah.
And he was about to talk to Skyler. He sat on the edge of the tub and said, "I don't know where to begin." That really could have been a good excuse for him to say, he didn't want to talk. He didn't know what
Hmm.
he wanted to say. He didn't even know what was wrong, he could say. And he went for a
Yeah.
walk. And he could say that he got robbed. But somehow he would have had to get. He could have said he got on a bus and went way, way as far as he could go, and then took his walk from there. And when he was heading back toward the bus, he got robbed. You have to be. I don't know. You gotta.
Maybe he could have said he went to a bar or something and drank until he got drunk, and then he got mugged when he was drunk and passed out in the alleyway or something.
Yeah. How long was this abduction now?
I'm saying a day.
It's only like a day.
Probably. Maybe a
That's an
day.
extreme measure to. He disappears at night.
Hmm.
By the next
And I think they
day,
just spent. They're at Tuco's.
right. And then by the next day, Skyler and Marie are putting out the posters Junior's making.
Hmm.
And then it's evening by the time Skyler's on the phone with Marie, and Marie's like, "Oh, it's not Whole Foods, is it? Um, could it?
Well, I think they gave a time. I think they said like 7, maybe 8 hours.
It was it?
Maybe.
Because
I
I didn't
remember
even
something they
think you
said
could.
about 7 or 8 hours.
That's a big exception because missing persons are usually like what 48 hours, maybe 72, maybe
Something like
24.
that.
But yeah, they have to be missing for a certain amount of time. So if it's only
Hmm.
overnight, he could come up with I got knocked out and robbed and woke up and came home.
Hmm.
And he's burnt because he's passed out in the sun.
Yep.
And then he wouldn't have had to
I'm
go to
trying
the
to think if
hospital.
I can't remember if they actually told the number of hours or days that he missed. Because when Hank was talking to the cops about what happened between him and Tuco, I think he mentioned something about how many hours Walt missed. I can't remember.
They made it seem like it was several days, but from the family's view. But from the
Hmm.
Jesse Walt view, it only seems like a day.
Yeah.
Now I'm curious about that. Because, I can
Well,
see the whole
okay.
fugue state to explain 3 days, but for one night? That's too far to go.
Because if you remember, when Jesse and Hank was interrogating Jesse, he said, "You spent 3 days locked up. You didn't went out at the house or nothing.
That's right.
You didn't went out or nothing."
That's why
It
I
was
had the
like
idea.
Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night.
Wow. So there's some
Yeah.
stuff missing. Were they in the trunk for like a day? A day and a half? Because
Hmm.
they were really, really out of it, the two of them, when they were in that trunk.
Hmm.
And when it opens up, Walt's hallucinating.
Yeah.
So that could have been like 36 hours or something right there.
Hmm.
A day and a half right there. And another day and a half to spend with Tio and Tuco and walk through the
Hmm.
desert and then finally end up, you know, I don't know, maybe we're to assume that they were walking through the desert not just during the day, but at night too, and then it was the next day.
Hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, it was supposed to be a whole weekend with Wendy. Two
Hmm.
nights, 3 nights. So yeah, it's a pretty long time to be passed out without anybody noticing.
Hmm.
But and then again, yeah, too, if he claimed anybody else was involved, somebody did something to him, then Skyler
Hmm.
would be seeking justice, and Marie would be appealing to Hank to look into it. So no, not a good
Yeah.
alternative, I guess. Yeah. You know what? There was one thing that came up to me when Hank's talking to his boss there at the DEA about
Hmm.
what went down with Tuco and why was he there
Hmm.
alone, and he says, I was there in a personal matter, that Jesse Pinkman was a student of my brother-in-law, and I was following Jesse's car, and I ended up there. Okay, that's
Hmm.
so far so good, but why did he not have to explain what this former student might have to do with Walt's disappearance? He didn't have to. He didn't have to go any
No.
further.
Yeah. That dropped right there. That was like a little cliffhanger because they didn't even ask what does Jesse Pinkman have to do with Walt, your brother-in-law, and why were you following him? I mean, uh,
I guess he would have said I was desperate for leads. He
yeah.
could have said, I know that my brother-in-law has been buying pot from this guy.
Hmm.
This is the
Or he could have
DEA.
said, I had a lead with Jesse Pinkman with my missing brother-in-law. He may have known something about it. That's what I was tracking him for.
But why? They never kept in touch. It wasn't like he wasn't like a special student who. It was
Well,
just
they
a
don't know
whole.
that. They didn't know that. They maybe Hank probably thought Walt and Jesse did keep in touch
Um,
because
or just the way he
Jesse's
said
mom
it
thought that.
made it sound that way. But you
Hmm.
would think that would be a logical question.
Yeah,
Okay, so
yeah. I think
what you're saying is your brother-in-law is has close ties to a guy whose car was found at Tuco Salamanca's place.
hmm.
I think that raises questions.
Yeah, I think this episode had a lot of holes in it.
I hate seeing them. Why am I seeing them now? It's just such an awesome show. But yeah, I was writing a lot of question marks in this one. Why this? Why that? But that was a big one.
And
You know,
maybe in the later episodes we might see those holes get filled that we didn't even realize.
I don't know what the laws in New Mexico are like regarding possession of pot, or selling pot is even
Hmm.
worse. Um,
Yeah.
But if, you know, if they had asked Hank would have used that as the reason. Look,
Hmm.
my brother-in-law is a cancer patient. He gets weed from this kid. Well, you're telling the DEA, oh, look, this is a pot dealer.
Yeah.
And, but they really wouldn't have any proof unless Jesse, because Jesse wasn't dealing pot. He may have had his own
Hmm.
stash, but he was, he wasn't really dealing pot. I don't know why.
Hmm.
But I don't I don't know the laws in New Mexico. But that could have stayed off the books because they
Hmm.
really, really. I mean, the DEA. It's not really New Mexico, the state itself. It's the DEA. It's the federal government and their employees and their
Hmm.
higher ups and what they care about. And even Walt says at some point, I don't care about the weed.
Hmm.
Don't care. As far as I'm concerned, you didn't inhale
Yeah.
because it's so minor. They are really after the real harmful, scarier
Hmm.
drugs, the ones that cause physical addictions, the ones that cause death when
Hmm.
overused. There's not a pot overdose on the record, so um, but they probably should have covered some ground with that just to close it up.
Hmm.
Yeah, but I really do think the big deal of this episode is Walt is not learning his lesson. And he keeps seeing that painting. He keeps seeing him leaving, drifting away from his family,
Yeah.
and how it hurts. And he's still gonna go forward.
Yeah. And
God,
this episode closes with Walt and Skyler in the bed, and she's mad. She knows something is up.
she believes he has a second cell phone. She gives him a
Yeah.
chance to admit it, and he denies
Hmm.
it. I think the
Hmm.
next episode, whatever it is, he's gonna come up with some convoluted, ridiculously long. I mean, I think what he's gonna do is she's gonna be okay with him and actually hanging out
Well,
and being with him until he starts this elaborate lie, and then all of a sudden she's in her car, her truck, and she's gone, or her minivan,
yeah.
whatever that is. No, truck. But
Well,
do you know
like I
what?
said, I watched ahead, and the lie was I had an alarm set for my cell phone so I can take my medicine.
Right, that one. And I think, and once he starts getting like that, she's like, oh, fuck you. She's like, I'm not listening to this. But it reminds me that he did great lying to them in this episode.
Yeah.
And that was another question mark for me. Why did he lie so well to Skyler and Junior this time?
Hmm.
Because he really doesn't do a good job at lying to Skyler until, I don't know, Felina.
Hmm.
When he tells a white lie about the money. But
Yeah.
he's usually just so bad at it. And he's just like, oh, I don't know, I just feel like myself. And everything's believable except for that second cell phone problem.
Hmm.
Yeah, he should have totally learned to use vibrate instead. But and
Yeah, for
and
the second cell phone, I'll probably come up with the same lie that he did, the alarm lie. I probably would have done that too. I would have. I would have.
yeah, except he just doesn't do it well. You know,
Hmm.
he's like he should have said, I have one phone. whatever noise you heard, it wasn't a phone call, it wasn't a text.
Yep.
You know, I've been setting alarms. Sometimes sometimes I mess up. Sometimes they go off. Sometimes they don't. It went off.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem was, as soon as it went off, he got up and walked away, and then he disappeared.
Yeah.
And it's hard for her not
Yeah.
to think that that's connected. You know.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't think of another good reason for him to explain that he had a second cell phone. Because, the only reason... I used to have like 3 phones. 3 cell phones. A couple of them were prepaid. And with me, it was just a matter of if I lost one, I had another one. I just had all kinds of weird reasons. Like I had cell phone plans where if you call during the day, it costs, it takes off your minutes. If you call at night, it doesn't. So that kind of thing. But if he had that kind of situation going, he would tell her, "Oh, by the way, honey, I have 2 phones, and here's the other number." So, but he lies really well to Skyler and Junior. He lies really well to the doctor who's asking him with the leading question, "Do you even have any fleeting memories?" And it comes up with, "Oh yeah, I was walking along a road or a highway and headlights, and I felt fear." And he lies to that psychiatrist brilliantly.
Yeah.
I don't know why he was such a good liar in this one.
You thought he was going to spill the beans, but he covered it up. He lied. He said, "I wasn't there. I want to get away from my family. We did not expect the baby. He just needed to get away from it all."
Yeah. And that's completely believable. There's a lot on his shoulders.
Which surprises me. Which surprises me that I'm getting later in the season. Skyler, when she visits the lawyer, she had the same problem. She was like, "Explain to me about this confidentiality agreement between you and I." And then that's when she tells the lawyer what's going on.
Yeah.
I was surprised she didn't lie right there too. I don't know why she actually told the truth about that.
I think she did it because she's thorough. One thing that Walt demonstrates throughout this is that if Skyler is not operating with good intel, then she can't make the good decisions she's forced to try to make to keep Walt's secret so that the kids never have to find out. And a big example of that is with the whole Ted situation. She doesn't know that it may be necessary at some point to call the disappearer guy. And if that's the case, they're going to need X amount of money to pay this guy. So not knowing, for example, she gives it to Ted to keep them out of trouble with the IRS. And I mean, there's all kinds of things that happen because she doesn't know. And I forget where that just came from, but, he filters information. So, I think by the end of it, she really doesn't even know the half of it. There are things that he did, that he was involved in, she just doesn't even know. I don't think anybody will ever know that, for example, Todd killed Drew Sharp.
Yeah.
And that Jesse and Walt were both there. There are just things that would blow her mind. I don't think she ever knows that Walt poisoned Brock. That
Mm-hmm.
would blow her mind. It's amazing how much she doesn't know, and it's still that bad.
Yeah.
And so, for example, if she knew now, 10 episodes in, that Walt's had at least 2 near-death experiences with his little adventure in temporary meth cooking, um,
Mm-hmm.
she'd be like, we can come up with some other way. She's the one who says in the beginning, the money is not the issue. It's
Mm-hmm.
really, really hard not to see money as an issue as we live our lives, and money is always an issue. But,
Yeah.
when it comes to things that you can't assign a monetary value to, like time with your family, at least living to see your daughter be born and take her first steps, things like that. I mean, but that goes into Walt not wanting to go out of this life of failure. He doesn't want to leave his
Mm-hmm.
family broke, because then he's the wimp who failed,
Mm-hmm.
who succeeded downward. It's not failed upward. He succeeded downward, and and then would have left his family completely broke. And I got taken out by cancer, lung cancer for a non-smoker. It just would have
Yeah.
been like, how pathetic. And he's no different than other ego-driven characters who care about their legacy. We were watching Felina the other day, and I'm like, Jack's ego. If it weren't for that ego, they all keep doing it. Gus did it. Walt does it.
Mm-hmm.
Jack does it. Their ego screws them up.
Mm-hmm.
And Mike even gives a speech about that. You and your pride and your ego.
Yeah.
Because Mike
Yeah. And
doesn't
the
do
go
that.
ahead.
Mike doesn't approach things about ego.
Mm-hmm.
Jesse doesn't even either.
Mm-hmm.
He dabbles here and there. We'll get there, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. So the ending sequence, it was completely the ending theme was completely different, like you stated. Keep on stating it. It's completely different. Last week was Hector's bail. This week it was a different version of the entrance theme.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's something I didn't even notice until I didn't notice. Actually, my watching buddy pointed it out, and I was like, really? All these episodes I've watched over and over again? It's just because by the time the credits roll, all right, you've seen the episode, you're done. How many people are walking out
Mm-hmm.
of the theater? There's the costume designer and the casting manager, director, or whatever are being,
Yeah.
But it is, and I think my favorite of all times, and it'll be a while before we get there, is the end of Granite State.
Hmm.
Because it's the only time they use the theme over a scene. Because usually once
Yeah.
you get to that traditional Breaking Bad theme in whatever form it takes at that point, credits are rolling. But they
Mm-hmm.
use it with the last scene still going, and it pumps it up. It makes it
Yeah.
so
Slow build.
dramatic.
It's slow build it.
And it's just it's so perfect, because I think it just almost creates part of a link that is going to link to Felina perfectly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It doesn't close. It does. It closes and opens all at the same time. It's like, this is the end of this episode, and this is pretty intense stuff, and here's our theme song, and it pumps it up, but it's pumping you up into, oh my god, what happens next?
Hmm.
I just I just thought that was brilliant. I love that. These little
Yeah.
details.
Yeah. So
But
this is pretty much it for this episode.
yeah. I
So
almost forgot to
not next week.
study.
Well, next week you'll have a week off to study because we're back. We'll be back the 15th for Down episode 4.
So you're skipping Saturday? Next
Yeah, I'm
Saturday?
skipping this Saturday. Yep,
I'm
next
skipping
Saturday I'm
Monday.
skipping.
Well, not this Monday. I'm skipping the next Monday. I actually should skip this Monday, but it's more important to skip the next Monday. So we'll
So this Monday,
have some time.
Marie.
Yeah, I'm gonna do Marie, and then I'll have
All
some time
right,
to
and
think
then
about what I'm gonna do next. I might start pitting some characters against each other. I already, in my discussion of, I think, Walt, I was really doing a lot of Skyler versus Walt kind of thing, I think, but
Mhm.
get back to that. But, maybe pick characters against each other. Like Skyler versus Marie, or Walt versus Jesse.
Hank versus Walt.
Oh, yeah. Two sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
I see them as two sides of the same coin. And the more I was watching those last 8 episodes, we talked a little bit about Hank and his pride and his ego.
Hmm.
I just saw that, and I watched that scene again, and I'm like, I'm right. This guy would die for his own ego. There's a little narcissism in some of these people.
Yeah.
There's a lot in Marie. There's a lot in Walt, although it's just coming out.
Hmm.
There's a lot in Hank,
Hmm.
which is why he was so thrilled. Like he even told Walt, go missing more often. This is great.
Hmm.
Everybody just thinks I'm wonderful. So
But
bring me
when
to
Marie had that phone call with Skyler early in the episode, she's like, she was like dancing around the whole thing, asking, "Oh, is it Whole Foods?"
yeah,
She wasn't even focused on what's going on. She
yeah.
was
She
more
was
worried
just
about where he was naked at.
yeah. She she can definitely be really really weird.
Hmm.
But if I'm telling you, if it were in crisis mode, let's say he came in and he were like they didn't know what his condition was. Let's say they assumed the worst. He was in really bad shape, and it was crisis mode. She would step up to the plate and be there. Actually, be at the hospital, and she does step up emotionally when people
Hmm.
need her. But they just have to put up with a lot of annoying stuff in the meantime. I
Okay, you cut out right there. I can't hear you.
Oh, there you
Oh,
go.
there we go. Yeah, you cut out on me. I couldn't hear you what you said.
I'm sorry. I don't know what happened. I think it's I think
uh,
it's oh I think it's Google, not us. But
yeah,
all right, so we will see. Hopefully Monday, and then we'll
Monday's
take
Marie.
Monday's Marie. I'm gonna wear
Take
purple.
Sat. And don't forget alternative ways for Walt and Gus and that whole
For
Brock situation.
yes, just Walt has to get Jesse to believe Walt about Gus and want to kill him
Hmm. Yeah.
without poisoning a child. So I'm all over that.
Yeah,
Brilliant
so
idea.
next, so Monday's Marie. Next week we'll be off, and then the week after that you'll be off, and then we'll jump back on the 15th for episode 4, Down.
All right. I look forward.
All right.
Thank
All
you,
right.
Shane.
So
Danke,
we'll see
Shane.
you then. Yeah. You're welcome.
All right.
Hopefully everybody will make it next week, the 15th.
I will.
Good night, everybody. Good night.
Good night, Shane.